Thanks so much for being on Full Focus.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, definitely excited to speak with you about, Hell's Kitchen. Obviously, you were on 2 seasons, season 14 and season 18. And before we go into all, the Hell's Kitchen experience, let's talk a little bit about yourself. You've been cooking all your life. Tell me a little bit about, how did you get started? What drew you to the kitchen?
Food. My parents' family food. Something we did at home all the time since I was a kid, right? We had family dinner. Every night, 6:30, had to be home. Either Dave or Vicky was cooking. And then I started just cooking with him, right? Dave, we were doing shish kebabs and matzo ball soups. He was Jewish, right? So, and then Mom would be making baked ziti and, all types of Italian dishes and whatnot, pastas. So it was something we did as like a child. My sister's a great cook. I turned it into a career. So it was something I did. I loved it as a child. It was fun. And I ended up being pretty good at it, right? So I just ran with it. And then next thing you know, I was like, all right, I'm going to be a chef. When I was like 12, took home ec in school, had that down. And then here I am, cooking still to this day.
So when did you kind of start picking up the knife and actually do physical?
Probably chopping onions and garlic at like 8, 6 maybe, super young, making shish kebabs on the grill, scrambled eggs and omelets, 10 years old. Of course, also doing the laundry, right? So sometimes you had to cook, but I would always watch my parents. My dad, 2:00 in the morning, some random, he'd wake up and he'd, pan sear a piece of fish or something, put it over some rice. And it would take 10, 12, 15 minutes to make. Super simple, super delicious. And I was like, man, I could do that. So, started cooking super young.
Where did you grow up?
Miami. I'm a native Floridian.
But you didn't live in Miami all your life, did you?
No, I left. We left Miami, my family, when I was 17, my senior year of high school. We left and moved to Wellington, which was a culture shock to say the least. So
Wellington, Florida.
Wellington, Florida.
Why was that a culture shock?
Well, let's see. I come from a predominantly urban neighborhood, if you were, to say. And then we moved to Wellington, and people had horses and airplanes in their backyard. So for me, it was a culture shock. It was definitely more of a mixed crowd in my Miami neighborhood than it was when I moved to Wellington in late '99. So it was interesting. It was cool though. Met a lot of cool people. I'd never seen a horse up close until I was 18 years old. I moved to Wellington. Some dude I met has him in his backyard, which to me was like unheard of, right? Because there was no horses in my neighborhood in Miami. What? Right. So. Yeah, that was interesting. But yeah, we moved to Wellington my senior year and then traveled, started, continuously cooking New York and Cali, here, there. So fortunately, the whole time I was able to cook and do what I love to do. It was a passion and a career as well.
What's your specialty when it comes to cooking? Do you have one?
Most people say that I'm like
brand?
Chef Bret the brand. So most people say that I'm like the Italian chef. I definitely do take pride in my risotto, my pastas, my salad dressings. Nice vinaigrettes, pasta sauces. I actually bottle them up and sell them. Pilatos, my mother's family name from Italy. So we have the salad dressing and pasta sauce company. But Italian, I guess. I have food tattooed all over my body, and a lot of it's Mediterranean mussels, octopus, bronzino, so.
Seafood,
yeah, and there's some vegetables, artichoke, a tomato, I got a garlic and asparagus.
You have bronzino on your arm?
Yeah, with some parsley, lemon, caper berries.
Oh, it's all in there?
Yeah. So that's the lemon wedge, the parsley leaves right there, and then on the bottom you got the capers.
Yeah.
Simple and sexy, right?
Yeah,
just like a roasted bronzino. Delicious.
Ready to go, yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So how did you always want to be on TV at all? Were you drawn to these cooking shows that you would see Chopped?
I would not even know before Chopped, like Julia Childs and Graham Kerr, I would watch Emerald 25 years ago with my father, and I always used to say I could probably do that because I was always like a young gregarious little shithead, right? And I could do that, but I never really thought about it because food in the restaurant, whether I was in a country club or a hotel or a mom and pop pizzeria, doing my thing, I never considered it, right? I was just chefing it up. And then I kind of started, even before the first season that I was on, I kind of started building this private chef business, this Chef Bret brand. And I got an email from one of my friends, and it was a flyer talking about a Hell's Kitchen audition in Miami. And I was living in Delray at the time. I was like, wait a minute, fuck it, why not? Can I curse?
Let's have a conversation.
Right?
Whatever you want to say. Yeah, yeah.
So
you said, fuck it.
I was
Let's
like,
do it.
sure, yeah, fuck it. Why not? Sure. Hell yeah, I'll go to Miami for this shit.
Yeah.
And he was like, dude, you'd be perfect. You're super extra. You're passionate. You fucking love food.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why not? You've seen the show. We watched it a million times, right? And that was in, 2013. I was like, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, why not?
So it was word of mouth. Somebody came to you and said, hey, there's an audition going on.
Yeah, I got an email of the flyer from one of my chef buddies, like just super random.
Right.
And like, here it is. Hey, you should go audition for Hell's Kitchen.
Right.
I was like, okay. So I showed up and there was, I don't even know how
Where did
many.
you show up?
The first audition for the first time, it was at the Eden Rock in Miami Beach. The Eden Rock, Miami Beach. Like, show up Saturday morning, 8:00.
Eden Rock is like a
It's a hotel in Miami Beach,
like in Miami Beach, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's just 1 block north of the Fontainebleau there.
Right.
So I go and I'm super early, and there's already hundreds and hundreds of chefs. I think the call was at 8 a.m. I showed up probably like 6:45, 7, right? Because I live local.
Right.
So I get there and there's tons of chefs. There's chefs with cut off sleeve chef coats with tattoos. There's chefs with guitars. There's chefs like super extra motherfucking chef dudes. And I'm like, all right, we'll see what happens, right? I just do my thing. And there's people that flew in, that drove from Tampa, flew from here, there, because Miami was the closest audition. There was definitely thousands.
Sure.
There had to have been thousands of chefs there.
How many days of auditioning did they do? Was that like the one day to like show up? And
that was the first day. So nobody knows what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So then some lady shows up in the room. We're in one of the conference rooms at the Eden Rock. She's like, this is what's going to happen. I'm not shaking your hands. This isn't a job interview. I don't give a shit. This is what's going to happen. We're going to chat like we're sitting at the bar having drinks, and we'll go from there. Mm-hmm. Right? And there's like thousands of chefs in this room. Mm-hmm. Like, all right, cool. So my number comes up 100 and something.
So you're just sitting there waiting for your number to come up so you can go and...
Post it up on the back wall, arms folded, just waiting.
Right.
Right? Chef coat and jeans, chilling.
You must have waited for a long time.
I mean, it was hours and hours, sure. But fortunately, I was because I got there early, I was number 100 and something as opposed to 800 or 1,000, right?
Right.
So I sat down with this lady. She's like, what's up? Where are you from? Here's your resume. I looked at your social media, blah, blah. Tell me about yourself. I'm like, cool, lady, this is what I do. Food, I love it, blah, blah, blah. Started explaining to her my childhood and food and restaurants. Mm-hmm. And she actually, it's funny, she said to me, she was like, so if I could tell you you'll be on the show if you stop talking with your hands, right? Will you? Like, if you sit on your hand, I was like, that's irrelevant because you're going to pick me anyway. Or some dumb shit, right? So out of those thousands of chefs, they had invited 20 back to go for a Sunday interview and on camera and another interview.
So this was not filmed?
No, not this.
There's no cameras there. There was just a face-to-face, quick intro, weed them out. Yeah.
Yeah. This is just real quick. Literally, probably we spoke for maybe 3 minutes.
Okay.
And she actually was like, oh, shit, you're making me hungry. And I'm like, good. That's the point, right? We talking food. That's what I'm supposed to do. It's my life.
Right.
Boom. So she invites me back for the second interview on Sunday, which out of however many were there Saturday, 20 had been invited for the Sunday interview. So go see my other producer. We'd love to have you back tomorrow on camera. Mm-hmm. All right. Boom. Let's fucking do it.
You're excited, right?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So go back Sunday. Then with that, now we're at the Hilton downtown.
Oh, it's another different location.
Yeah, so now I'm waiting in the lobby, and I see a couple of the chefs in the room in the lobby that I was with Saturday that I saw right in real observance. I see what's going on. Producers come down, Bret Hauser, let's do it. Go upstairs to a room. They got lights, cameras set up, the whole line, a chair, backsplash.
Another conference room type thing.
No, this was in a hotel room.
This was in an actual hotel
room upstairs at the Hilton.
Got it.
They started asking me all kinds of questions and food and family and this and that and everything, and then holding up pictures of ingredients. What would you do with this? I'm like, oh, that's a monkfish. I remember like it was yesterday. I'm like, that's a monkfish. I'll wrap that shit in prosciutto, serve it with the couscous. She was like, oh, this is all on camera at this point. All right, thanks. So out of these contestants now, there's like however many of us, then we get this, like if we're accepted to the next round of interviews or whatever, there was like this big ass packet of papers. It must have been 12 inches high.
This is now another day.
This was that same day.
The same day.
Same day, Sunday after my on-camera interview.
Right.
So out of the 20 or whatever contestants now, they're only giving like 3 or 4 of these packages of paperwork.
The paperwork.
So now I had to go home, and literally took me a couple of days to fill out. I'm talking everything you can ever imagine in life. Roommates, children, wives, girlfriends, friends, parents, extortion charges, kidnappings, this, blah, 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 blah. Like literally everything.
Wow. They wanted to know everything.
So then I
about
send back this paperwork, and I'm just waiting.
Yeah.
And then maybe after that, probably like another, must have been 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Yeah, at least like 2 months. I get a phone call, Cali number. Hello. Hey, Brent Hauser, this is blah, blah, blah in California. We'd love to fly you out and talk to you some more. When and where? I'm there. Boom. Next Wednesday, you available? Absolutely.
Man, you got to be ready to go.
Like I was fucking ready.
Like
sure,
this.
whatever. It didn't matter what was going on. Because at this point, this was already 3 months, like a couple, 3 months into the process.
And that was in your head the whole time? You were thinking about it, like for 3 months? Like,
not really. I mean, I still had life going on. I still had to run jobs in the country club and the restaurant here and there, But it's always a thought, like, I wonder what's up with that shit,
Right.
And then I get a phone call, boom, to come to Cali. All right, cool, let's do it.
What did they tell you on the call? What are you going to Cali for?
I'm going to meet with a team of doctors, the producers, some psychiatrists and private investigators and all kinds. They needed to know everything about me because, God forbid, right? They say, you're on Fox. So say you got the Mexican cartel looking for you. You hide down in Florida. You're about to be seen by hundreds of millions of people on Fox. Like, we can't have that liability. So, like, they needed to know everything about me. My parents, my mother, my father, my sister, my daughter, my old roommates. We talking about who did you live with in 2008, yabba dabba do, and what addresses have you been associated with in the last 30 years and
it's
shit.
Like the FBI.
Like, it was serious, right? We talking about Fox, it's major food, network.
Yeah, no, they cover.
So everything. Fox, So I fly to California. They give me an EKG, blood test, drug.
So you go into doctor's office?
No, they set doctor's offices up at the Hilton Hotel right outside of LAX. Right? So the producers, they got one of the conference rooms. They set me up with a room for 3 days. They make sure I'm straight. And then throughout the day, we have interviews, on-camera interviews, a plainclothes interview, a doctor.
So at this point, you're already chosen? Do you know if you're chosen?
No.
You don't know yet?
No, I don't even know yet.
You don't even know yet? You're going through all this, and hopefully you'll be on the show.
Right,
Maybe.
So there's other people I see floating around this hotel. Like, I'm hanging by the pool because we're not really supposed to leave the hotel. We're just chilling because we're being interviewed. And I could see other people like, oh, this motherfucker's here for the same reason I am. I see you, right? And now one of the dudes is actually a friend of mine, but we had originally went to the first auditions together in 2012 or early 2013. So, yeah. So, then hotel rooms, this, that, doctors, EKG, drug tests, blood tests, back criminal.
Drug test?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's cool. I don't do drugs, actually. I hate drugs. I don't even drink.
Right.
Yeah. So drug test, and fortunately the show is filmed in California where cannabis is legal, and that's the only thing that would ever be in my system.
Right.
So it's irrelevant. It's California.
Right. So they didn't test for weed?
They do an all-around spectrum, but to be honest with you, it's unfortunate a lot of chefs get a bad rep, but a lot of chefs might have a drinking or drug problem, whatever the case may be. So I don't know, based on other contestants, if their urine was dirty for a certain drug, whether or not they're getting picked. But I'll let cannabis and my shit. And in California, everybody has cannabis. It's recreationally legal. If you're 18 years old, you buy like cigarettes,
Today, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, even then, even medicinal then. So
medicinal, right.
Absolutely. But so it was irrelevant that I had cannabis in my urine. I'm not withdrawing or anything from the show while I'm there filming from it or anything. So, met with doctors, drug tests, this, that. Met with a private investigator, needed to know everything about my life, about my daughter, about my daughter's mother, about everything. Shrink and make sure I was, mentally stable enough to be on the show, that I could withstand 20-hour days of, 7 days a week of Ramsey in my ear, producers and cameras and lights, and so they make sure that I was sane enough, right? And then next thing you know, so I fly back home to Florida, and then
how many days were you there doing all that?
It was like a 3-day trip,
right,
in and out.
Okay,
2 days of audition, day of travel type of thing.
Right, and then were you compensated for being there, or?
They fed, they gave me food, my room, everything was taken care of, travel, but I didn't get paid for my time there.
Right. No. Okay.
But at that time is irrelevant because I might be missing a day or two of work in Florida, but the opportunity greater than what could come from this interviews, and now shows what it could be. So it was worth it. Yeah. Fly back to Florida, nothing, life. I get a phone call. Oh, I'm sorry, Brett. We haven't selected you for season, because when I went, it was season 13 and 14 castings. Mm-hmm. So they're like, oh, we haven't selected you for season 13. Maybe, but we still have room for season 14. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I appreciate it. Thank you for the call.
Right.
Appreciate y'all. I'm like, I'm getting on my 14, right? Like, I'm getting on this shit. And sure enough, like a month later, I get a phone call like, we're gonna fly you to LA to film Hell's Kitchen. We're going to tell you everything you need to know, what to bring, what not to bring.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
We'll send you emails of shit and all the clothes and what to bring and shoes. And then next thing you know, I was picked.
Wow.
So I said, let's do it. So then that was October, November 2013.
Right. That was for season
14. Season 14. Yeah.
And then how many episodes were you in for 14?
I think it was 8 or 9 episodes. I actually left for a back injury in the middle of the season. According to Vegas and what I hear and a whole bunch of people, I was actually a shoe-in. Like, I was the heavy favorite on that season. Oh. Yeah. I know it's me and this and that, but people are like, they were definitely happy that I left for injury, the other contestants, because I would have fucking won.
I mean, you went through all of this and you got picked, then you had to.
So because I was in a horrible car accident before I went to film, and I had reconstructive shoulder surgery. I had a whole labrum tear and rotator, and I got screws and the whole nine. And I probably should have had my back done. I had some chip bones going into my sciatic, and they needed to file it away. And I re-injured while I was filming.
Right.
So unfortunately, literally, it's put me out of commission before the filming for a week at a time, where I couldn't work or whatever the case was, and laying on a tile floor. And it happens.
So what was it? The pain was just too much?
There was nothing I could have done about it. Like, I was just flat. I couldn't move my leg. The pain, everything about the sciatic nerve was shooting from my lower back to my calf.
So you were in the middle of filming?
Oh, yeah.
And would this happen at night? Or
no, I was actually or in the daytime, like in the morning. We were prepping. I went to the bathroom. Next thing you know,
this is on camera while the cameras were rolling.
You see all this shit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They showed all that, and then a medic came, this and that, and they were like, "Oh, do you need X-rays?" Or I was like, "I know what's wrong with me. I have MRIs from my car accident. This is what's wrong with me." So this is actually the funny thing about California, and we were talking about the drug test earlier. Mm-hmm. So they go take me to the hotel, but I'm in pain. To the hospital, and I'm in pain. And the lady's like, "Oh, we'll give you some Dilaudid." And I'm like, "No, thanks. I heard of that before." I was like, "Maybe some medicinal cannabis will work. Marinol, a THC, a cannabis pill, 10, 15 milligrams. It's natural, right? It's a plant."
So these are doctors that are...
This is at the ER in California.
Right.
So the lady's like, "Nah, it's cool. We'll just shoot you we'll give you an IV of something." And I was like, "No, thanks. I'll stay in pain." She's like, "What? We'll give you some Dilaudid." I'm like, "I heard about that before. Isn't that like some heroin type shit?" I'm like, "No, morphine? Like, I'm good. No, thanks. No, thanks." So I just stayed in pain. I'm cool. And so I leave the hospital because what are they going to do for me, right? I'm not having back surgery in California. Mm-hmm. They got to think my MRIs. I told them what was wrong with me. MRIs got sent over the whole nine. So I go back, and I'm in like excruciating pain. So I get back to the dorm, laying on the floor, trying to stay flat. And Ramsey's like, "Oh, you can't compete. This and that's a shame. You were doing so well." Gave me a hug, this and that. So I came back home, excruciating pain.
So you told the producers that you just couldn't do it?
They couldn't. And Ramsey was like, back issues are nothing to mess with. This isn't going to be a day thing, which I knew because I know they could put me out of commission for quite a few days at a time. So it was, I already knew, there's no way.
How disappointed? Were you like really?
Oh yeah, I was in tears, dude. I was in tears, like real life passion fucking tears.
Right.
Oh yeah. I would have won. It was all good. But now I'm on now, and I'm still on. So maybe we'll see what happens with this season.
So how did you get back on season 18? What happened?
I get a phone. Oh shit! I was actually it was like a Tuesday afternoon. I was just doing something. I don't even know, chilling, probably at the house or something. And I get a phone call from a Cali number. I don't know. I got a lot of clients in California. Good afternoon, Chef Bret speaking. How can I help you? Hey, it's fucking Hell's Kitchen producers with Ramsey, blah, blah, blah. We're filming All-Star season. We want to invite you back. I said, excuse me?
All-Star season.
Yeah, because it's a veteran versus rookies, All-Stars. So last season they did All-Stars where they brought all the contestants were past contestants. Mm-hmm. And on my season now, it's half rookies, first-timers, and half veterans, people that were already contestants on the show. So I was like, yeah, cool, let's do it. I'm down. Abso-fucking-lutely.
Yeah.
So again, flew to Cali, and I actually had to get medical clearance. So I went to my doctor and physical therapist and everything for my back and blah, blah, blah.
Did you have to go through the whole thing again?
Fortunately, no, but I did go back and do an EKG, and I met with a doctor. So they took us to a doctor this time.
Yeah. Like a light version of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not the
Pretty
full.
much, but nothing crazy. But they got to make sure I was still sane. But
Right.
Obviously, and plus I actually opened up a restaurant a couple years ago in downtown Fort Lauderdale. Mm-hmm. Name is irrelevant, but
why?
It's no longer involved. It's just relevant.
Oh,
it's a restaurant in Fort Lauderdale. That's relevant. So, and Ramsey had actually Googled about Fort Lauderdale restaurants, this, that, and my name came up. Mm-hmm. And he came to visit and have dinner. Mm-hmm. So I saw him, and the first thing he said to me, genuinely, he was like, "Hey, how's your back?" Holy shit. Man, thanks. Oh, nice to see you. What the fuck are you doing here?
Yeah.
He's like, I was shooting some shit. I'm on my way back to Miami. I Googled, I'm hungry. Here I am, Fort Lauderdale. I saw you. Oh, shit, cool. So we fed him. And then maybe that had something to do with it. That I saw him. He saw I was doing, my thing in Fort Lauderdale, whatever.
Yeah.
So that may have had something to do with it, I would imagine. He was pulling some strings somehow or some way or whatever. So then they called me. Next thing you know, bang, bang, February of last year, I went to film.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was, I was like, because, it's unfortunate the way I had to leave because I wasn't even considered for elimination in my season. Like I was like a front runner for sure.
Yeah, you were the favorite, right?
Killing it.
So it's 18 and 14 both seasons. You when you're shooting, where were you shooting?
I think we're at like Culver City, like South Cali, like LA-ish area. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Both times?
Yeah.
Oh,
There's some studios over there, I think. So like, we were. Went out there to film. They took us, and the living accommodations, it was like a college dorm kind of. But the house was beautiful, the kitchen beautiful. Never went for want without anything, food and everything. I mean, we had the whole refrigerator lays and the cabinets, whatever we wanted.
Who lived in that house?
All of us, the contestants. So we had like four people in each room. So like a room of men and then a room of women and a room of women. Like blue team, red team, or men, women.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. And you would spend most of your time on set, though, right?
I mean, the set was always cameras everywhere in the house. Here, the kitchens, the challenges, the dinner services. So, like, it's all connected. So, like, the restaurants downstairs, so you see us, like, running downstairs, like, that's, like, in the same house around the corner and shit into, like, this main kitchen dining room area that they turn into fucking everything. Like, they turn a dining room into, like, a ice land. Like, we had fucking, it's crazy.
I mean, the amount of time, resources, and money that goes into producing this show is
actually that's funny. I said that. I'm like, they're like I like filming, especially the second time around. Like they spare no fucking expense.
Right.
Like whatever goes on here, like this shit's crazy.
Wow.
Like last Friday's episode, the challenge, they won private jet to Vegas from Cali, hotel room, Caesars, the Jumbotron, like welcome Hell's Kitchen chefs, Las Vegas Strip and shit.
Who's your direct conduit to the show? Is there someone you can go to? Is there a assigned producer to you, or? I
mean, there's a lady who emails us all the pictures. So like Thursday night, we'll get an email of like all the graphics, the pictures from this week's episode and the YouTube commercial trailer, or whatever. Some producer lady that I email.
What do they ask you to share it? Is that what?
We always do, of course. Yeah. But always anyway. Certain hashtags and shit. Hell's Kitchen Fox and Gordon Graham, blah blah blah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that part of the 70-page paper?
No, I don't think so. But like I do it anyway, right? Why not? You know what I mean?
No,
also with my, I'm trying. I have a kind of a social media presence on Instagram, so tag a bunch of stuff, followers, and essentially, those people can become clients.
Yeah.
They take a look at my food, they might like what they see.
Yeah.
And then I can offer my private chef services to them.
Of course. Yeah. Do you build a relationship with Gordon Ramsay beyond just the business that you see on television?
Sometimes he shows up. He'll like show up on one of the rewards or something. I mean, when I've seen him in Fort Lauderdale, I met him, and he's fucking awesome. He's super cool dude. But like, in the kitchen as chefs also, like we mean business, a certain level of, quality that he expects. Mm-hmm. And he's one of the baddest in the business. I mean, he's the Michael Jordan, he's the LeBron James basketball comparison. I mean, he is that dude. So like, he can be very fierce, but he's a nice guy. He's a cool dad, like, he's awesome, but he's on a whole nother level of like being a chef. He's one of the baddest, yeah. But he learned from one of the best, so that would make him, one of the best.
Who did he learn from?
He trained with Marco Pierre White in France, like one of the baddest chefs, like living. Like he's a legend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You mentioned, let's talk a little bit more about your cooking, your own cooking stuff, right? And I know that, you're an advocate for cannabis and using it in cuisine.
That I am. I'm big on its medicinal properties. The plant, a lot of people, it's been stereotyped for years, but now, fortunately, it's becoming, in the light of what it really is. And let's be honest. I have basil and parsley and herbs tattooed on me. And in all reality, it grows like from a seed, natural, like an herb, and it has healing qualities, as does lavender and oregano and thyme and ginger and garlic and all these natural supplements, But I cook without it, obviously, as well. But it is, when I'm in these legal states, it is a big part of my business. I'm all about teaching people about the plant, especially eating it, smoking pot. There are all medicinal qualities to it, but smoking is bad for anybody, right? Smoking is bad. It's bad for your lungs. But to cook it as you would an herb, a basil, to make an herb oil. We do it in the restaurant. Every chef will tell you, and everyone's made hundreds of herb oils to do it with the cannabis plant and extract its, cannabinoids and all these things that benefit the body, cancer cells, and this, that, and the other, nausea, blah, blah, blah. So and to eat delicious food while consuming these medicines that are 100% natural, why not, right? Why not?
So how does it work? I mean, it's like, is it like a, herb, like a basil or like a thyme or something like that?
Yeah,
how do you
bring some flavor.
You extract
you extract it, absolutely, in certain degrees.
Like you make a butter,
in a fat, a butter, an olive oil, coconut oil. There's all types of remedies, but when generally put it in a coconut oil is one of the better ways. You make cookies and all kinds of stuff, or you put it in some olive oil, and then you can make a salad dressing. Because who doesn't love salad, right? And have these, these medicinal qualities while you're eating a delicious, arugula and grilled peach salad or something, or whatever you want in your lettuce, So I'm a big fan of cooking with it. My father, may he rest in peace, was a cannabis advocate as long as I can remember. So to me, it wasn't really, it wasn't taboo or stereotype cannabis. That like the weed, like I don't even like that word. Like it just sounds ugh. Cannabis, it's a plant and it grows like parsley and basil, and being a chef, it makes sense for me to cook it. So California, Colorado, Maine, Nevada, Michigan, here, there, cooking with cannabis is huge. They have stores that you can go into and buy gummy bears or a brownie. But like, say somebody's a vegan diabetic and they don't want to eat a gummy bear because it has gelatin, it comes from pig, or brownie, they don't want the eggs or whatever. But you can make a vegan, organic, non-GMO, phenomenal, say, salad dressing with just herbs and a little bit of olive oil, which when eaten raw is actually not bad for you. Some vinegars, which are good qualities for your body, some spices.
What's the flavor profile of cannabis? Like, what do you, brownies, gummy bears, that's all sweet stuff, right? But salad dressing is.
I might put it in some butter,
right,
and use that as a finishing butter in a butter poached lobster risotto,
right?
And just put just a little bit at the very end where it's not a whole lot of flavor, but just melts into the risotto, makes it creamy. It's fucking delicious.
I mean, does the cannabis have a flavor?
Yeah. The plants,
right,
depending on its terpenes and this and that, certain plants have certain flavors. Maybe some is a little sweeter than another. Maybe one is more piney, more earthy than another one, could be. So yeah, they all, different plants have different flavors, just as cilantro and parsley have different flavors, like basil and oregano have different flavors.
Now, would different strains within like the marijuana plant have different flavors too? So could you get really like detailed and be like, I'm going to use this strain because
all the time.
It has a different
certain
flavor?
Terpenes, yes, because certain flavors will be used for certain dishes. Like, hey, I'm going to do something, say I'm going to go Mexican and do something with some cilantro. So maybe the cannabis I would use would be like a nice citrusy, lemon haze, or some sort of orange, kush or something along those lines that has similar flavor qualities in the plant, the terpenes, right?
Right.
There's certain plants, sometimes they have, like, for people that consume cannabis, they make, some flavored plants, it tastes like, one might be very sweet, one might be very fruity, one might be very earthy and very piney, like, or whatever,
So is the THC still in it when you cook with it? I mean, does it have that? Because you have the CBD, the THC. Everyone's talking like the body high.
It all depends on the plant you're using. There are plants that contain, only CBDs. There are CBD, which is legal in all 50 states. It all depends. In Florida, unfortunately, THC is still illegal. But anywhere else, why not use the full spectrum of the plant? If people are trying to get, in fact, high, as they call it, medicated, that's what I prefer, because why would you eat a Vicodin when you can consume a plant? Like, I don't know, that's just me, right? So, but yeah, I mean, as far as flavors and all that, but the THC and CBDs, there are different strains that contain yes and no's.
Why do you love cooking with cannabis?
Because it's healthy and it's delicious. Because well, for me, with my car accidents and I went through some shit in life, and as opposed to eating opiates, which is killing people literally every single day, and people in overdose on drugs in their livers and kidneys, and they're dying and they're overdosing and they're becoming drug no thanks. I'm cool. I'm all and being a chef, and my parents being who they were. My mother, or somebody, even my ex-wife's grandmother, I can remember, like a sliver of garlic, right? A little olive oil, a little shot of like lemon juice early in the morning, and like a tablespoon, because that's what she did. That's what people in Europe do, and they find natural remedies. I could do without the man-made drugs, opiates, that's causing a crisis for starters in this country amongst drug addicts. It fucking disgusts me. And especially having an 11-year-old daughter, a lot of these young children are exposed to certain things with the music and life in general, and these opiates, and they're fucking disgusting. And people are dying every single day. There's not one story of anybody overdosing or dying from cannabis plant. That's like saying I ate too much parsley.
Yeah.
Like it just makes me want to chuckle.
Right.
Kind of. Like, to me, that's silly. But if somebody eats too much of this or one of those that, just because the doctor said, okay, it's cool, you can have it, like, no thanks. I'm not even close to accepting that whatsoever in my life.
And to you, it was almost like a normal thing, because you mentioned you grew up with it, right? I mean, that was around you all the time.
My father was a very intelligent, very successful businessman who happened to smoke cannabis. And like the DARE class in 6th grade, DARE. But to me, I never even saw my parents drink. Like, I don't even consume alcohol. I don't even like alcohol. I don't even drink. To that, like, my dad, it was normal for him to have a joint with his coffee in the morning. That was his medicine. I mean, he got blew up in a car from a car accident. He was burned in a warehouse fire. So, I never seen him take a drug in his life or a medicine that the doctor said was okay. No, he consumed cannabis. And he would eat it. My family cooked. That's why I'm a chef, right? So they cooked it.
They cooked it too.
My father would consume cannabis,
right?
Via food, because it was because he cooked and it was healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was normal. It was nothing. It was like my mother would have, some basil and parsley from her garden, and Dave would have some cannabis, and he would cook with it.
Where do you think the cannabis kind of like segment of cooking will be in like 10 years?
Oh, well, considering 10 years ago from where it is now, I can't imagine that it'll be even considered what do they call it, a Schedule 1 or a narcotic or this or that, or that it wouldn't be, the legalization of it is now finally coming too, and there's more states that are, getting into the cannabis legalization medicinal, which is phenomenal, and recreational as well. In 10 years from now, I can only pray that the country realizes that it's beneficial to legalize cannabis. The money that it brings, the revenue, just in state taxes alone. Colorado, billions of dollars. In California, Canada, the whole country, they ran out of legal cannabis. Can you imagine the taxes that were being paid that's beneficial to the whole country? But maybe America's not down for that.
Yeah.
But we won't get into that.
Well, again, we don't know what the future is going to be like, right? It's come a long way so far, I think.
That it has. I mean, 10 years ago, it was...
How many states is it legal now?
Yeah, it's over 20. So, like, 10 years ago, it was extremely taboo, right? Like,
right.
I mean, it was
much more...
Sure, it was a frown upon, so to speak. And now, and then for hopefully 10 years from now, it'll be where it needs to be.
Yeah.
It's a plant, dude. Like, let's be honest.
Probably a growing segment. And that's why I think, like, the cooking part of it, it's so unique. You hear about obviously all the flavors and the medicinal stuff, but the cooking part of it and going into the granular.
They have major shows that are airing on Viceland Network,
Right.
you know, Bong Appetit and all this cannabis show and all these on Netflix and cooking competitions with it, this, that, and the other. So, I mean, it's definitely coming to an enlightenment in the
I'm talking more about general consumption of it, you know, like
eating
having
it is better than smoking it.
Right, but right now everyone's I got an edible, and they think of brownies or cookies, right? That's all they really think about it.
Sure.
Or maybe gummy bears or whatever, you know.
Right,
But
why not a
just
bottle
the
of
idea,
salad dressing?
Right? Why not? Or the lemon or butter that you make that goes over your flank steak or whatever it is, right?
Exactly.
That could also be infused
Certainly.
with it, you know. So that could be more of a you know, general market kind of thing, and I think that segment is still kind of like not tapped into as much because people don't accept it really
Right.
yet. You
Absolutely.
know? So,
well, right,
I don't
because
know.
they say, I don't do edibles, you know, they mess me up, you know, or like,
Right.
you know, it's just like anything in the world. You don't, you know, too much of anything is bad for you, right? Like, we've been hearing that since we were kids.
Yeah.
Too much of anything is bad for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what's next, dude? What does the future hold for you?
Future holds, I'm right now doing the private chef thing. I got some things in the works. My lady and I were doing, you know, the salad dressing pasta sauce thing here in Florida, you know, CBD and no THC whatsoever. You know, CBD is legal in all 50 states and regular as well for clients who just want, you know, bottles of salad dressings. We're going to put that on the market. We're doing some candles, private chef food thing. Clients I'm available to all over the country, all over the state, South Florida. You know, food, really.
Awesome.
Life, you know, meal prep plans, this, that, you know. Food. That's what I do.
On that note, Chef Bret, thank you so much for coming, man. I really appreciate you being on Full Focus.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much for having me.